And someone was asking a question, the minimum number of hours it takes to prepare for the exam, so from an individual standpoint. Well, you have the classes which are 4 hours. The perfect way to go about this is, and this is no different than preparing for any class, is to read the material, okay? So ideally you would read the material. They're called study units, chapters, whatever, it's the same thing. They're not very long, maybe 20 pages. Now it's in an outline format, okay, and that's the trick here. It's not like the book essentially would help everyone completely. It's going to be an outline format. Some things you're going to go, aha, I remember that. Other things you're going to go, no, not so much. And so what you would do thereafter essentially is take quizzes, 2 quizzes, and they're 20 questions each. And what it does, it allows you to practice your fluency of, getting up to that speed of answering questions in a minute and a half or less. By doing so, you can identify, where your mistakes lie, because you can get the answers and then say, I have no clue what that is, or gee, I just misread that. Well, there's 2 differences. That's a different situation altogether. If you're not reading the question correctly, that's one thing. We need to work on that. We can also teach you how to essentially identify the call of the question, as we call it. And I mean, there's so many tricks and tips that we can share with you which are going to save you some time. But then on the flip side, if you don't know the accounting, we would want you to make note of that. Ideally, we want you to email that to us, say, listen, I still understand this concept here, and we will make sure that we include that with examples in our lecture. And it's not like we're going to call you out and say, Betty didn't understand this. Essentially, it's for the benefit of the entire class. So go into your question, though, which I've not answered at this point, how much time outside of that, and that varies with every student. Like I said, there was this individual here that was a sales and marketing type person. He didn't really have any formal accounting or finance background. Now, he was very diligent. I would say that he probably put in a good 4 hours in addition to per week, and that's just a guesstimate on my part. He passed on the first go-around, though, okay? I know some folks that were CPAs, and I think the fact that they thought they were CPAs, they were overconfident and therefore did not prepare themselves. Just because you're a CPA, which tests a whole different body of knowledge, doesn't necessarily make you automatically pass the CMA exam. The pass or failure rate is a little bit different than the CPA, but not much. It's about 52 versus 48%. So hopefully I'm answering your question. It could take as little, in some chapters, as little as an hour just to kind of read over the material and do the quizzes and be done with it. You get some other topics. We have a lot of number crunching in part 2, a lot of analysis. How much analysis have you done? If you're a financial planning analysis type person and you really understand the ratios well, then it'll become a little bit easier to you. If you have not had a whole lot of experience at it, then it'll take a little bit longer. I feel confident, though, that we're able to teach anybody, regardless of what their background or their current job is at this point in time. So we also, like I said, we leave a lot of buffers in between. So during the weeks that we're essentially, I don't want to use the word off, but that we don't have a formal lecture, it gives students to either catch up with their personal life, work, or their studies. So we kind of stretch it out just to make it as comfortable as possible.